back to another episode of the Hustle Nation podcast. Today, we're joined by none other than Kevin Monroe. Kevin is affectionately dubbed the world's gratitude coach, as he is passionately committed to promoting the transformative power of gratitude around the world. He believes gratitude experienced is better than gratitude explained, and that gratitude is best experienced in community. To bring people together to foster gratitude, Kevin creates engaging environments and hosts events like Gratitude Encounter, which encourages people to explore, express, and experience gratitude in a meaningful way. He is also the creator, curator, and coach of the Grateful app, which we're going to dive into. Kevin is dedicated to helping people cultivate gratitude daily, regardless of where they are in the world. He is also the founder of I'm Grateful for You, a global movement that encourages individuals to express gratitude through tangible acts of kindness and transformative encounters. Kevin, welcome to Hustle Nation.
Wow, I'm so glad you all made it through that long introduction.
It was long.
You know, you write those things, you never expect anybody to read them. No.
Wait, I've made my own introductions for people, and then that typically doesn't work out where it's like, oh, can we hop back on next week to re-record that? I wasn't didn't like that.
Yeah.
I could feel the
Hey, it's a
energy.
joy to be here on the Hustle Nation.
I could sense the energy before we started to record, and I knew this was going to be a great episode. So, Kevin, tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you got to where you are now.
Wow. Okay, I don't think we have time for all of that because I've
Well, your intro already took up too much time, so we should just blow past that.
Oh, so gosh, I am going on. Let's see, 18 years of business. 18 years of entrepreneurial business here. And man, it's been a ride. And if I were to look at my company now, I think we're probably on version 7.0 or 7.1 of the company, right? And who didn't get a reboot through the pandemic, right? I mean, I think I had 2 reboots of business during the pandemic. But the one thing that I can say is constant when I look back from the time I was a teenager, right? And yes, you can say that was a long time ago. It really was now. It's kind of like, wow. But one constant that has been in my life is I've always, from the time I was 13, 14 years old, I wanted to make the world a better place. I wanted it to matter that I lived. And so that's had many iterations through my work and through the businesses that I've led. But most people get real curious about this gratitude work, and I will tell you, I landed on gratitude out of a really dark time in life, at a dark space in life, and I was on the verge of despair and probably another bout of depression a little over 5 years ago. I remember the date, April 17th. 2018. And I tell people, I don't know, maybe it had something to do with being 2 days after tax day. I don't know. Maybe it was totally disconnected from that. But I mean, I was at the point of despair and I cried out actually in prayer for help. And then there was this idea, and the idea led me to launch a 90-day journey and invite a bunch of people to join. And right in the middle of that, we did a week on gratitude. And that week on gratitude is what really caught my attention, ended up changing my life.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what happened?
When?
where you fell into that dark place.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, it's funny because when I joined this and let's be honest. I mean, no, let's be dishonest. No, I've never met Dustin or Chris before today. So this is our first interaction. We're not longtime friends. We will be friends. We're fast friends like these guys. But I don't have any history with you guys. But I joined the call and Dustin said something about the energy. You talked about the energy a moment ago. And yeah, I don't necessarily think of that, but I do. But that morning, April 17th, I couldn't drag my fanny out of bed. And I'm usually up between 4:30 and 5 without an alarm clock, right? Just up and ready to go. That morning, 7:30, 7:45, I'm just rolling over. Really? Is it time to get up? No energy, totally lackluster, just seriously at the point of despair.
Yeah.
Dustin, I think I see some nods that tell me you recognize that. Some of you listening, you know what that's like, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as you talk about it, it's one of these things we've talked about it a number of times. Even the most successful people, they might be really disciplined in their behavior and the steps that they're taking, but everybody has ups and downs, right? I mean, you said it before we went on, everyone has a down day.
Yeah. And so I was really in the pit of despair. And so the other thing that I would say, I said earlier, I've always wanted to make a difference. And when I look in the mirror, I always see a guy that's just an ordinary guy, right? I mean, I was always like the last pick for sports teams when we were playing anything. I was the last picked. I wasn't that academically smart. Years ago, I had a business partner that she asked me one day. She said, "Do you know about Mensa?" And I'm like, "What's Mensa?" She goes, "I didn't think you knew," right? And Mensa's the Smart People Society.
Yeah.
So I wasn't smart enough to know about the Smart People Society. I wasn't academically or athletically gifted, but I always wanted to make the world a better place. And so the idea so that morning, to be quite honest, I'm a person of faith that morning. And I have these morning rhythms and routines. I don't think of them as rituals, but that morning I opened my prayer journal that a mentor had asked me a few years before. I remember when Doug asked me, he said, "Kevin, would you join me in praying 15 minutes a day?" And I looked at him like, "Doug, I haven't prayed 15 minutes in the last 2 years. 15 minutes a day?" Right? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
are you kidding? What does that even look like? And I said, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give it a try." Well, I started keeping a journal, and it was just, open the journal, ask God to speak, or just be open. And that morning, I mean, I can show you right here in the journal because I ended up keeping it on my desk, April 17th. And I just prayed, "Holy Spirit, you're the creative spark of the universe. Spark creativity in me." And I'm laying on the floor in and out of sleep even. 45 minutes later, I just sat up erect. There was an idea that was 85, 90% fully formed. Launch this thing, call it the extraordinary experiment. Hey, if you're people like me and you feel ordinary, but you want to live an extraordinary life and make an extraordinary difference, join us on this journey. And what if we just and we took a stair step approach, 13 weeks, a challenge each week. Week 1, I remember this was the awareness challenge, just inviting people to get out of your phone, to get out of the newspaper, get out of the book, whatever it is that you're, doing when you commute or when you're around other people. Be aware. Well, week 6 was the gratitude challenge. And when we started into week 6, I mean, that really activated something in my life because it was the first time in my life that I started asking the question and trying to answer the question, are being grateful and being thankful the same thing? Are they synonyms? Because I'd always thought they were. And I started realizing they weren't. They were different. And so, Chris, 45 minutes later, I just go to work. So I'm going to, look, man, I hope many of you listening are like me, that you're open to inspiration and that part of your hustle is getting an inspired idea, right? And inspired ideas come to us from anywhere, right? Out of the blue. You're not even thinking about something and all of a sudden, "Oh, what if we did this?" Right? That's an inspired idea. I believe I have 2 immediate responsibilities when an inspired idea knocks at the door of my head, heart, wherever it knocks. That is to say yes, open the door, right? Just entertain that inspired idea. And item number 2 is to do something right away. Take some kind of action. So I called my friend Christy that's worked with me on a lot of projects. And I said, "Hey, Christy, I got this idea. What do you think if we did this?" She goes, "Yeah." So we started building a landing page that day. And the next day we have a landing page that we launch and invite people to join, right? So Chris, I don't know if that's what you're wanting, but that it goes from a dark day to an inspired idea to doing something, taking action. And I think there's some hustle in there somewhere. I don't know. You're the hustle guys.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, the process to go through that. So now you've launched, right? So you get the idea, you're inspired, you're rolling. You know, how in the next 13 weeks,
Huh.
wh- what was the behaviors that you had to follow, right? Because my guess is as expired as you were at that moment, that had to have lingered to some
Oh,
extent over those 13 weeks. And
yeah.
and how do you keep that discipline day in and day out?
Um, okay. So, great question, Dustin. I think there is something about putting stuff out there, right? Uh, Starting something, inviting other people in, committing to a course of action. And in my case, a lot of that is often public action, right? Hey,
Yeah.
let's do something. And so we started this and we recruited for 2, maybe 3 weeks. I'd have to go back and look. But we recruited 274 people from 28 countries to join us on this 13-week journey. And we just called it
Incredible.
the Extraordinary Experiment. And the journey was, hey, we had these 13 weeks of stair steps. And on Monday of each week, we'd drop a video. On Wednesday, we'd come back with and that introduced the topic for the week. And each week was called some kind of challenge. Like I said, it went from the awareness challenge, um, uh, the connection challenge. I remember that one. Funny stories about that one, but just engage with people, right? But
Mhm.
all of these invited people to take some kind of action, do something. And then on Friday, we drop an email that asked people to reflect on the week and what worked. What did you learn? What did you discover? And all of this was just 13 things that if you did these, you might just tap into the extraordinary. Now, I have a belief. I have a belief that most of life is ordinary, but when we do ordinary things with extra focus, fervor, and flair, we tap into the extraordinary, right? Because I think there's some of people that may be like me, how I used to think. Oh, they're those extremely uniquely gifted, talented people, and I'm not one of them. Right?
Mhm.
So good luck with that. No, I think all of us, we can do these simple things, but we can do them with so much energy, with passion, right? That all of a sudden we tap into something that's extraordinary. So that's what this journey was about. And so when we got people involved, and that meant every week for 13, we found the rhythm, right? This 3 touches a week. So that meant we had to create content 13 weeks in a row, right? And people are counting on us to show up. But when people start interacting and when people start responding to the things you're putting out there, like you guys, you're finding that out when people are, oh, yeah, I got to do it again, right? I got to
Mhm.
keep this up because people are now counting on us.
Mhm.
People are, uh, relying on this because they've signed up. We make it a commitment.
Mhm.
Then you show up and you keep delivering.
It's incredible. One of the things that started this whole hustle movement for Chris and I is, I mean, Chris and I have talked about this kind of openly. Neither one of us were the most athletically gifted kids, and certainly not the smartest people in the room either. But
Well, that's why we get
yeah,
along
yeah,
so well,
that's
Dustin.
exactly right. Uh, Chris is probably saying, "Speak for yourself," but the it in reality, it came from the mindset that those who hustle will always outperform. We talked about, teams that out hustle, organizations that out hustle, individuals that out hustle, that to your point, you don't have to be Mensa. You don't have to be skilled. I mean, hustle and hard work is always going to outperform, you
Yeah.
know, apathetic skill. Right. And so how do you continue? And, you know, uh, one of the things you said, which, I think is a behavior we hear of so many people, you called it, your morning routine, and that discipline to stick to whatever that is. And everybody's is different, but something that small allows you to every day wake up with purpose, every day wake up with a plan, and create momentum really
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's several things I do. We don't need to get into that, but I don't mind. There are just other things I'd really like to focus in on this conversation. But yeah, doing it, just showing up and doing those things, right? And committing to it. And then like I say, when we involve other people, And now there's a commitment that, hey, we've got to deliver something for somebody else, because now people are counting on us to deliver. And you deliver. Gosh, I did a meeting at noon today, and I think, counting me, there were 5 people there this month. There are usually a lot more, but right as it's leading up to it, people are, sorry, can't make it. What do I say? Well, let's just blow it off. Right? No, you show up and you go, you know what? We're going to make this the best hour that this can be, because somebody is committed to this. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so hustle it. Yeah, you hustle because it's who you are.
Yeah.
I like it. So, as I think about this, and I think about a lot of the people who are currently listening to this episode, there are a lot of people out there in a good place who say, I don't need that. I'm already thankful. I'm already grateful. And then there are other people who say, I am maybe in a low spot and I would like to get better. Regardless, what do you find are some of the reasons why people get to the place they're in? And then what are some of the things that they can do to get themselves to that point to where you got to when you came out of the dark?
Okay, I'm going to try to sound real smart for a moment. I'll quote Shakespeare. No, I think this is the only line I know from Shakespeare. Be honest confession here, but I did find this line from Shakespeare. Expectation is the root of all disappointment. Expectation is the root of all disappointment. Right? So when we find ourselves in a gap, okay, so I use the word gap. I love the word gap. And I have learned, and frustration is a word I talk about a lot. I think I was in 3rd grade the first time a teacher asked, so Mr. Monroe, young man, why are you so frustrated? Right? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know that I was. But frustration is a gap between what is and what could be, or what is and what we think should be, right? So there's this gap, the gap, expectation and reality. We had these hopes, we had these aspirations. We thought we could just launch a website. I think I heard one of you talking about, Dustin, I think it was you, your very first business. You just launched something and you expected, and it didn't go as expected, right? And then we go, oh gosh, right? Did you fail? Right? And when people ask me now if there's one thing I wish I had understood, or what would I tell my 18-year-old self, or whatever that age people go to, I just go to this: failure is not what you've been told it is, right? And I was taught to avoid failure at all cost. That failure is just, the worst thing you can do is fail, right? You don't want to fail. Oh my gosh, I failed at so many things at this point in life, right? And when I finally learned that failure isn't to be avoided, it's to be embraced, that failure is not the opposite of success, it's the pathway to success, right? There is no success. I don't believe there's anybody on the planet that has succeeded at everything and never known a moment's failure, or never known a setback, right? It's part of the journey. But some of us were taught, oh, don't fail. Failing's the worst thing that can happen. So again, when you encounter a setback, so many of us, like I said, I haven't talked to Chris and Dustin before. I don't know this. Years ago, when an inspired idea would show up, I don't even know if it was inspired, but when I would have an idea years ago, my first task was to perfect the plan. And let's spend 90 days to develop the perfect plan. And then now we have a perfect plan. Now let's spend 90 more days to try to perfect that plan even more. And what kind of things did I do and introduce to the world in that kind of mindset?
Fear.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Not much.
Because Not much, because I'm always planning, perpetually
Yep.
planning. 13 years ago, I meet a guy. He became a good friend of mine. His name's Rich Sheridan, CEO of Menlo Innovations, wrote the book Joy Inc. and Chief Joy Officer.
Yeah.
And I remember when Rich told me this, Kevin, around here, we don't burn the ships and we don't boil the ocean. We just run the experiment. And that liberated me as a guy that was a perfectionist. And now I'll say I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I've gotten a 1-day chip, right? I can go a day without relapsing into perfectionism. I mean, perfectionism is this thing that it's nasty. But when we think that it's up to us to get it perfect, to get it right, no, the thing is to get it out there. Launch something. Let people. I mean, we launch things all the time now. One of the most amazing projects we did last year, we launched. We went from idea to concept to implemented program in 6 days, and it was amazing. But it built on 5 years of work in a specific field and many other years of experience, right? That allowed us to do something in 6 days. But if you'd asked me 15 years ago to launch a program in 6 days, you can't launch a program in 6 days. You need 6 months or what, it's just
For sure.
6 weeks, crazy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think perfect exists. I think it's a fallacy, and I think it's actually toxic. The more
It
we try to
is.
attain perfectionism, the more we stop and we think and we allow fear, which is the worst, to come into our brain, and that's what stops us and prevents us from taking action, or quicker, taking action faster than what we could have. And so there was a really good book I read not too long ago, and just the title of itself says everything.
Was it
It's
my
almost
book?
like, no, unless you
I don't have
read
one. I'm just teasing. So I just
Ready, Fire, Aim.
Oh
And
yeah.
the theory is just do it, and you can improve it along the way.
Ready,
That
fire, aim. Yep.
resonates. That the whole thing just resonates with me for that reason. I actually tried to audition for a TED Talk, and the theory was imperfectly perfect.
Oh man. All right. Kintsugi?
Yes, that was in my talk. Yeah.
Right, the Japanese art
In the
form,
pottery. Yeah.
form that when a beautiful piece of art, a vase, pottery, or something is broken, you don't throw it away. You
Yeah.
use gold to fill in the cracks, and
Kintsugi.
you create a new version of art. And it's the imperfections that all of a sudden make this piece even more perfect than it was before. So yeah, this idea perfect doesn't exist. And perfect prevents so many entrepreneurially minded people or leaders from doing anything. And we just got to get started. Just, I mean, so finding a small step and taking, not going back to my friend Rich Sheridan, don't boil the ocean, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just do something. What is, I'm sure you're familiar with the concept MVP, minimally viable product, right? What can you put out there and see, do people want? Man, I can tell you so many programs. I designed the whole thing, recorded all the videos. Yeah, you too, Dustin, right? And nobody signs up. I don't do that anymore. Right? We start putting stuff out there. Are people interested? Are people interested? So I was telling you guys beforehand, it hit me just really yesterday. We're recording this. Is it okay to say when we're recording this?
Yeah.
Okay, May 18th. And so last year, this Thursday was May 19th and Friday was May 20th. So last year, the Monday of this week, a friend of mine reached out to me and said, "Oh, Kevin, I have a friend who's been tasked to find speakers for this client." And the client was a dream client. And I'll call their name. The client was Chick-fil-A. This guy didn't work for Chick-fil-A. He worked for a firm that had been retained by Chick-fil-A to find speakers for a Chick-fil-A conference. Would you be interested in having a conversation with this gentleman? I'm like, sign me up. So the conversation was set to happen Friday, May 20th last year. It did. On May 19th, which was Thursday, right? This day of the week, a year ago, I met with my good friend. She does our website, does a lot of our marketing work, Susie. And we're just having our monthly meeting. And in that conversation comes up with Susie says, well, what are you going to pitch them? I'm like, well, gratitude, of course. She goes, no, you got to have something really big, right? What is it that you're going to, and we started brainstorming. And I've done, in the introduction, you talked about this, the epiphany I had over the last 4 years, right? We can talk about that, but the experience of gratitude. So I started creating encounters, environments where people actually get to experience gratitude, not listen to somebody talk about it, but let's have a experience of gratitude. And I said, so I do these gratitude experiences. Oh, okay. Well, what could that look like? And what could the action be? Anyway, we started talking, and Susie brings something up. And I've been recording videos for 5 years now, off and on, hundreds of videos. But I mean, in those very first videos, I'd coerce a friend to join me because I couldn't do just solo to camera, because I would script it so heavily, and then I would record it and re-record it. I mean, I'm serious, Dustin. It looks like there's some recognition here. I have done 17 takes of a video, right? And then you realize take 17 is no better than take 1. It may even be worse. But then I would always sign off with saying, hey, I hope you know I'm grateful for you. Thanks for watching. And Susie said, well, what could you do with that? And I said, gosh, I have an idea. What if we created a little card? And well, okay, what would you do with the card? And I just outlined this plan in my mind. And we could have 2 versions of the card. That's great. I think you should pitch that. So the next day, I'm on this conversation, May 20th. 30 minutes is what I have to pitch. And I start talking about gratitude and things we could do in the meeting. And I said, and imagine that we have a kit that everybody that leaves the meeting leaves with a kit. And the kit says, I'm grateful for you. And they have 2 sized cards. In the meeting, I've drawn up a little card. I'm like, imagine there's a card this size, and we could call that a legacy. I mean, an impact card. And then there's a bigger card that we'd call a legacy card. And imagine that everybody in the room got these cards and left with kits of cards. And the gentleman says, oh my God. And well, he finishes and he says, Kevin, we're putting you on the short list. I'm sending you over. That doesn't mean, somebody else is doing the selection, but we're putting you on the short list. And I said, if you don't mind me asking, what was it? He goes, oh, it's the cards. It's the cards. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. So I'm waiting, I'm thinking, well, my phone will ring any minute now. No, but so nothing happens right away. But the next week it hit me. It's like, wow. What if this idea really is a good idea? And this guy, it moved him so much. So why don't you just print the cards and start using the cards and start disseminating the cards? So I get Susie to design the cards, and then we created 2 cards. This is the legacy size card. This is the impact size card, business size card. And we started printing these. And then our wonderful marketing team, they come up with an envelope to put the cards in. And they send me this envelope on this side. And then on this side, when they send me this side, I'm like, man, that's a bitty gaudy, right? That's kind of big. Wow, that's audacious. Well, I'll tell you what, this looks really good when you have 250 or 500 people in a room, all get their packet and hold them up and get a photo. That's what the marketing person saw when they designed this envelope. I didn't see it. I thought, to mail, that's kind of big. So I printed these cards and just have a group of that's called Gratitude Ambassadors. I said, hey, I've got a new idea. Anybody interested? Here's a place. Drop your address. I got 100 people from around the world that were open to receiving cards. So I gifted them the cards. Right? Just funding this out of my pocket. What if we send this? So we started sending these cards. And then people started using the cards. And people started sending stories of the impact they're having with these cards. And then we're trying, and I've done all of this on a page on my website. It's getting really crowded. I asked my friend Christy, can you review this page? She goes, actually, Kevin, I think you're trying to do too much with the page. You need a website. So I called my friend Susie, said, gosh, maybe we should create a website. So we created a website. It launched July 1st, 2022. I'm gratefulforyou.co. We have now thousands of these packets. And I want your address. I want to send each of you some of these cards. we've started a movement of people using these cards and using these cards, carrying the little impact cards with them, carrying them in their wallet, in their person. And maybe they're at Starbucks, maybe they're at Panera, maybe they're at a restaurant, maybe they're at the hospital, wherever they're at. And they have an amazing encounter and they whip out a card and they write a note on the back and they give it to somebody. And they go, hey, I want you to know I'm grateful for you. You went the extra mile. Here's what you did. Give them a card. The bigger card, people use to write notes when they're giving an award inside their company. And so we started this, and I was looking this morning, I was just kind of thinking, how many thousands of these cards have now been sent and shared around the world? And Chick-fil-A is not called yet.
What the heck?
Right? But if I had waited for that validation call to start, if I had waited, it wouldn't have happened. But it was this idea. And one guy, he said, hey, I like this. This is, we're going to take it. I think you should, I'm putting you on the list, right? Short list. And that was enough to say this idea works. So what's your idea? I just want the people, you listening, what's an idea you have? Don't wait for somebody to validate it. What's the smallest thing you can do? So I printed, I think 1,000, 1,500 of these cards and 500 of the bigger cards and just started giving them out. I've now reprinted these 15, 20 times, order thousands every time. We've had companies, a small company, Oracle Europe, were the first to co-brand the cards and use in a conference a year ago. I had a global pharmaceutical company, can't call their name, but we did a conference with them in March and gave everybody in the company kits of the cards to share, to build and grow gratitude. It's like, wow. Right? This is amazing. But it was an idea. But had I not taken action on the idea, it would still be an idea.
Kevin, what's interesting is that most people would take that experience and they might have a salty feeling against Chick-fil-A. Like, oh, you know what? Those guys, they don't, I can't believe them. I'm not going there anymore. But you actually took that and you found opportunity and gratitude in the situation and you used it to create something even bigger, even more powerful.
Yeah, and you know what? I still think Chick-fil-A will come around one day, and
I'll send them this episode.
Because of this episode, it's going to happen. But yeah, right. So life doesn't unfold the way we think it is. I mean, I was so excited that day when the guy told me I'm on the short list. I'm serious. I'm thinking, oh, next week they're going to call. The week after they're going to call. Next year. But yeah, we can either, fester disappointment, because disappointments happen. And I heard it said years ago, not an original statement, but things like this in life, they can make us bitter or they can make us better. Right? Gratitude is what allows something like this to become better for us. And, I won't say this because I don't want to, I don't believe in jinxing it, but I'm in conversations right now. I have a meeting next week, second meeting, with one of the most amazing companies in the world that's looking at bringing this into their company. And I'm like, awesome. It's a company bigger than Chick-fil-A, right? So I don't know. But had that conversation not happened, had that introduction not been made from my friend Jenny, had I not had this just brainstorming call with my friend Susie, these things wouldn't have happened. So there are a couple of things here, right? None of us creates anything alone. I don't know, a Hustle Nation, do y'all ever use the word solopreneur?
Not in the show much, but
good. I hope not. I hope not, because I just don't like the word solopreneur. Really? Can you do anything by yourself? I love this idea, right? You pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, who made the boots? Right? Did you make your own boots? You're pulling yourself. Oh no, you didn't. Right? You none of us. They're people that contribute to our success. And so, I mean, earlier today, I was sending messages of gratitude. I left Susie a message. I don't know if she heard it yet, but I was like, wow, Susie, I realized it was a year ago today. You were on that call and you sparked ideas that birthed this project. Thank you, Susie. I'm grateful for you, Susie. And then I called my friend Christy. Christy, you're the person that introduced me to Susie. Thank you for introducing me to Susie. Then I was on a call with Jenny. Jenny was the person that introduced me to the guy that had the meeting. I'm like, Jenny, thank you. Gosh, I don't know if you remember, but it was a year ago this week, and I want to say thank you.
Kevin, this is interesting. So we talk a lot about leadership on this podcast and in business. I'm curious, does any of the services or the programs that you offer, is this theory of gratitude and the implementation different for the average person than it is maybe for a CEO or a VP?
Oh, I'm coaching a CEO right now. We started this week, right? That wants to bring gratitude into his company. And I wrote something this morning. I actually believe that expressing gratitude, expressing appreciation. Okay, so here I was in a conversation with another executive earlier this week, and then they posted something this morning that everybody in the world wonders this: am I seen, heard, and valued? Right? I mean, everybody wonders that. And if you are in a leadership position now, I actually believe you assuring and ensuring that your people know that they are seen, heard, valued, and appreciated is one of your chief roles as a leader. Because when people don't, when people wonder, am I seen, heard, valued, or appreciated, and they don't get that, what do? They start looking. I think that is what was really behind the Great Resignation, right? People did not feel appreciated. And after what we've gone through the last 3+ years, people just like, life's too short to work somewhere where my gifts, talents, and abilities aren't appreciated. So I believe, Chris, I love that you asked this. So the most fun that I've had with this is introducing this into companies, right? And companies recognizing that we may have employee appreciation and recognition programs, but what would happen if we infuse those programs with a fresh dose of gratitude? What if we took them from being formal once a year, twice a year, maybe once a quarter if a company's really good, right? But so many times people are recognized for something that happened so long ago, they don't even remember it. And what employees want, what workers of the world want, they want to be appreciated and recognized. Survey after survey shows this. Appreciating a person at work once a week is not too often. Right? I mean, what if you're and I'm not saying they're giving you an award, but somebody's saying. And so this pharmaceutical company, I started creating brand new content for them around this. And what I realized, magical moments happen every day in the workplace. We either miss them, we minimize them, or in the best cases, we maximize them. Right? But many times we just miss them because we're so preoccupied with other things. Or, oh, it's no big deal. They always do a great job. All right. That's minimizing it. But if you want to take gratitude to another level, what if I started calling it the ACE model, of gratitude. Appreciate. When you write a note, you're wondering what to write on your I'm grateful for you note. Write what you appreciate about the person. Write about their skills, talents, abilities that you appreciate. Celebrate. Right? Celebrate not just the achievement, but the way they went about making that goal happen in their company. Celebrate that they did this when they were facing personal adversity. And then elevate. What value do you want to elevate them exemplifying of your company values. So what if you started using gratitude in an ACE method, right? How do I appreciate, celebrate, and elevate the people on my team? If you're a leader and you want to do something that communicates to your people that I see you, I value you, I appreciate you, start expressing gratitude and telling them what you appreciate, how you want to celebrate them, and what we want to elevate. And Dustin, come on, buddy. I see you.
It's amazing. You know, we this started for us about 3 or 4 years ago, and here at McClone, we talk about our valued, trusted, and appreciated, and our goal is if our team feels like they're the most valued, trusted, and appreciated in the industry, that we're getting close, right? And
your customers are going to feel it.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
You
And
can't deliver excellent customer service when your people don't feel those 3 things, Dustin.
That's exactly right. And it's been amazing since we've kind of unleashed it. You know, to your point, there's 100 things to be thankful for and to recognize people for every day. 100 things. But we just look past them because we're just, you know, we're like, oh, that's just Johnny. Johnny always does that. He always is awesome. Well, you know, when's the last time anybody told Johnny he's awesome? Right. I mean, it's constant.
Yeah. So that's what I want to see gratitude do in the workplace, Chris and Dustin. I want to see people come alive. I want to see people go home at the end of a workday feeling seen, heard, valued, appreciated, trusted, respected, feeling that their contributions mattered, that they made a difference. Then when they go home, guess what? They're carrying that gratitude into their home.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Well said.
I'm gonna ask my final question. And
all right.
Before I do, I really believe when people ask me, because I have an opportunity to speak a lot and be on podcasts, people say, "What's one thing you'd recommend as a takeaway?" And I always go outside of the box and I say self-care. I think if you can take care of yourself, you can bring your best self to work. You can be your best self in your marriage, your relationship. You can be your best husband or wife, whatever it might be that you are, or that you want to be. And on your website, you explicitly call out well-being and how gratitude fills your cup. I'd love for you to talk more about that because I think whether you're into the fitness side of self-care or you're just into maybe the mental health side of it to be your best self. Can you connect the 2 dots for me?
Yeah.
Is that deep? Is that too deep for you?
No. I'm pausing to think, how do I really want to answer that question now? Oh, okay. There's several ways I could go. One of these, thinking of a conversation I had with a friend, Steve, years ago, and his epiphany of gratitude came when he said, when I realized everything in my life is a gift. Being grateful is the only appropriate response. Right? When I realized everything in my life is a gift. When we pause, okay, when people ask me, what does it take to grow gratitude? How can I become more grateful? I give a simple 3-part answer. And I was answering this a long time this way before I created this. But pause, notice, express. If you want to be more grateful, it starts with the pause. Pause. When you pause, what do? Then you notice what are the good things in life. And then you express gratitude for some of those things. And if you would bookend your day, one of the first things you do in the morning, and I don't want to say this, it's got to be the very first thing you do because, you know, some people, let's be honest, not everybody is a morning person. Some people, it takes them a while to wake up. So after you get going, right, you don't feel guilt if you can't just jump out of bed and do this. But if you think, what's one thing I'm grateful for today? And if you let that be fresh gratitude, okay, what do I mean by that? I had a pretty weak, anemic gratitude practice for years. Years ago, I had a mentor that said, before your feet hit the bed, hit the floor, getting out of the bed, think of 3 things you're thankful for. Well, I had my 3 things, and I could do that in about 3 seconds. Oh, I'm grateful for my wife, my kids, my home. My wife, my kids, my job, and then if at that time somebody said, well, gosh, Kevin, could you be a little more specific? I would go, okay, Gwen, Josh, Lindsay, and, my job ad. Right. But what's when we stop and we look back to your comment, Dusty, there are probably 100 things. If we stop and we go, in this moment, in the last hour of this day, what's the amazing thing that's happened? And Chris, I'm going to go one other place. I want to answer this question this way. What if we adopt this or apply this definition of gratitude? It comes from my friend Patty Blackstaff. Gratitude is appreciation for all that I have, all that I am, and thankfulness for my ability to show love and kindness to others. Okay, for the first way too many years of my life, 50 plus something years, I thought of gratitude as only thankful for stuff, right? That first definition. I'm grateful for stuff, the blessings. Well, what if we also we say, what is it about me that I'm grateful for? What about my gifts, talents, my abilities? What about my unique personality that some people might call annoying? What is something about that I want to appreciate, celebrate, elevate today? And then what about the people that enrich my life? And what if I start taking every day? What if every day I'm taking a moment to have a moment of gratitude, and I'm either being grateful for something in my life, something about me, or a person? And if we do that, we are, my friend Jenny, she calls it a reservoir, right? We are filling our gratitude reservoir. If we're building a reservoir of gratitude, and it's not just a cup, we got a whole reservoir, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and that reservoir fills our cup because we're receiving gratitude, we're giving gratitude, and the real goal, we're living in gratitude. Gratitude's not just something we do to check a box. It's a way of being, a way of living for us. And I invite you people of Hustle Nation, be grateful. Be grateful in this moment. When this podcast ends, just pause and ask, what is one thing I can be grateful for now? Who is one person that has enriched my life today, this week? And I want to stop and send them a text and tell them, I'm grateful for you. Thank you for fill in the blank. Do that. It'll change your day. It'll change your life.
Kevin, we talk so much about sales, marketing, leadership, entrepreneurship. This is the first conversation we focused really on a subject that I think everybody in the world can appreciate, can utilize, and can use to get better. So thank you for that. That was phenomenal.
Thank you for the invitation and opportunity. And thank you for listening. You that listen, thanks for listening.
Hey, it's an opportunity to get a free lesson, and I think you just have to choose to see the opportunity, just like you can choose gratitude, right? So we got to put a bow on this, but we're going to have you back because I think we can dive deeper down this conversation, and there's so much more to unpack. So many great stories here. But take a minute and tell our listeners where they can find you, some of the cool stuff you have going on, and maybe where to find some of those gratitude cards.
Okay.
And don't
Okay,
forget
I'm going
about
to
the
give you
podcast.
3 places. Grateful.app. Grateful.app. Gosh, we didn't even talk about the Grateful app. That's okay. We launched an app 90 days ago called the Grateful app. And if you go to grateful.app, you can download the app for free. I'm grateful for you.co is where you can get the I'm grateful for you cards. And then if you want to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn. That's how we met, Kevin Monroe. And you can call me, text me, +1 404 713 0713. Yes, that is my personal cell number. If you want to talk, if you want to reach out, use the number.
That's the second time we've had someone drop their cell phone in the show. I think that's incredible.
I love it. I'm glad somebody else does it.
Yeah, your phone's going to be blowing up. It's going to be blowing up. I can't wait.
That's okay.
Kevin, thank you for the opportunity to join the show. We're going to have to extend this so we can talk about the Grateful app. For all of our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you joining us once again. And for all of you subscribers, downloaders, social media fans, we appreciate you too. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.